Are we better off finding truth on our own or with a group? I just wanted to pose this question, and I'll try to make this video quick, just for the sake of not rambling too much about it, but this kind of goes hand in hand with the video I just made about the Book of Thoth and the mystery schools. And while I'm on the subject, I kind of wanted to talk about something that, I don't know, I guess it's always been on the top of my mind when I'm thinking of these things, which is, are we better off finding our own truths alone without the interference of our fellow man, or are we more apt to find truth if we seek it as a group, as a collective? And this is reflected, I guess, in the perfect example of religion, which the group itself holds more power than the individual. And it's not just a matter of power in the sense of dominance, it's a matter of mental power, being able to share ideas with others in the same type of, I guess, people who are on the same path. And what amazes me is that all these different groups, all these different religions fighting amongst each other, the solution to that in the past has been to go underground to find the truth and basically form secret societies to avoid the ridicule of the church, which has been very oppressive for a long time. And one might say, well, the mystery schools formed for fear of persecution of religion, and this is absolutely not true, because the mystery schools existed long before most modern religions. Religion in the past was a matter of divinity and understanding through the world, and there was a fine line drawn between idol and nature worship and divinity worship, as opposed to observation of the world around us in order to understand divinity. And we get caught up in these details of saying, well, you think you're God. Well, no, I think that we're all God. Well, then that means you think you're better than God. And the argument goes back and forth. Eventually, one side becomes offended and a war breaks out. And so I've come to this, realization that to try to find truth as an individual without any external sources is a futile effort. Only because the collective efforts and works of our past philosophers, humanity in general, our arts, our music, science, all of these things help us to understand our truth better. My example would be if one person sat down and tried to discover what life was all about, they may come up with draw many conclusions that people in the past already have that have been proven to be incorrect. And we could get into semantics and then the reality of what is true and what isn't, and whether you believe something's true. My point isn't to, deny that a person can manifest their own truth, but rather that to find it quicker, it's much nicer to have a textbook. And since we don't have a textbook on life, we have a history of people like us who have sought truth. And so using these histories, using these writings and these ideas can help us. But when we start getting too wrapped up in the particular stories, we miss the archetypes, we miss the allegories, we miss the symbolism. And but forming a group today is really a fruitless endeavor if you're trying to attain knowledge of the great mysteries of the all. Because the groups have always been around. You might join an idea. I guess the Freemasons would be the perfect example of a group who does just that, who forms a group of people. But I don't mean an actual organized group of people like that. What I mean is you have to become a member of the philosophical world. To be a complete person, to be a complete man or woman, you have to be a philosopher. You have to love wisdom. You have to love knowledge. You have to want to seek the truth. And that's the first step, because without that, you find nothing. If you believe what you've been told, and you continue to believe what you've been told without question, then you're a fool in a world of fools. And I'm no exception, because I've been fooled. We've all been fooled. But I try to shake my head and laugh at myself and move forward, Luckily, I have never been drug into any particular belief system yet, and I don't plan to. But there is one belief that is inherently indisputable to me, which is that through understanding the world around me, I can understand myself and God better, to put it this simply. And just as the ancients used the different ratios and numbers, the numbers of man, these sequences like the Fibonacci sequence, and these universal numbers, these fractals and ideas that we see over and over, we apply these to our lives. And we're basically following God, following the light of God, if you will, to put it bluntly, to create our synagogues and our buildings and churches all in these perfect proportions, as well as the pyramids and many ancient structures were done in exact proportions to try to please this universal mind, if you will, to live in the light of balance. And these ratios come up over and over and over. And one person trying to understand it all is nearly impossible. So we have to, at a point, let our guard down and trust that those who have come before us have put in the work. And I think that's about as much as I can say about it, because at this point, a person has to determine, do I want to trust in someone else's work? And what do I determine to be empirical evidence? And furthermore, do I need evidence of anything? Because personally, I've come to this realization that truth can never be learned. The truth about the unknown, the truth about the mysteries can never be known, can never be learned. It can only be known. You can be shown, think of it as a choose your own adventure, or a coloring book that's not yet colored in. I guess a coloring book would be the perfect metaphor for me. You're given a coloring book by those before you, and which colors you fill that in with is up to you, and which patterns you choose to see are up to you. So, I guess the reason why I'm talking about these things is because thousands of years of work have been put into this and have been obscured by religious fear and dogma, and then science tried to step up and take over, and we need them all. We need religion, we need science, we need understanding. All of these things are tools. If we fear any one tool for learning, then we are primitive creatures. If something is not useful, it will be proven to not be useful pretty quickly in society. Therefore, if these great mysteries had been disputable or not provable to such an extent that it was ludicrous, then they would have faded away, but they haven't. And while religions have come and gone, great leaders have come and gone, and schools and ideas and society, things have come and gone, the mysteries have remained consistent for thousands of years, and will continue to do so to those men and women who are willing to open their eyes and seek that truth. And to those who never do, I feel a degree of sorrow, not resentment, which could be building, could build from seeing people who don't want to put any effort to understand themselves or the world, but it's sorrow, not resentment. Because I'd like to see everybody find themselves through this difficult path of, I guess, enlightenment. I hate that word, I really do, but I'm going to use it because the root of all of these cultures and all of these schools and societies was enlightenment. To understand the world better and yourself better. And that's what enlightenment is, being enlightened, being wizened to the reality of your world. It's still being able to smile and know you don't know the whole of it and you never will. So that's my siren, so I'm sounding off. I wish you all luck on your journey, whatever you may be doing, whoever you may be, wherever you may be. Just remember not to let other people corrupt what you think is true. And if you want to find your answers in a book, try to find a book of symbols. But I'll tell you, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have picked up a Bible and really thought that I could gain as much as I can from it. And it's these texts, things like the Bible, are being revisited by non-believers because we realize that information that has been preserved and the ideas that have been preserved. And many of these stories are well-known archetypes and allegories. There's absolutely no way to take these as a literal story because they resonate through many cultures, and every generation has their own kind of version of it, if you will. Find your reality. Enjoy it. Peace.